Everyone. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second in our series of Q&A sessions. Today's topic, the ADAM Online Assessment Administration System, specifically questions about rostering and accessibility in ADAM. My name is Dwayne Dixon. I'm the moderator, and I'm the program manager for the Main Science Assessment at New Meridian. We also have Nancy Godfrey with us, the assessment coordinator from Maine Department of Education. Our ADAM expert responding to the majority of your questions, which is Bob Wolf, the senior product management analyst at MZD. And we have Katie with us, the project coordinator for the Maine Science Assessment at New Meridian. She is fielding the questions from our chat and helping out with a lot of other stuff. A couple of housekeeping tasks before we get started. We do ask that you do submit your questions via chat. We will be monitoring that throughout the session so that we can pick up your questions quickly and easily without having to worry about trying to speak over each other and figuring out whose turn it is to speak. We do ask that you keep your microphone muted unless we ask you to unmute it so that you can ask us a specific question or for clarification. And just a reminder that all
Oh, we lost you, Dwayne.
Just a reminder that all of our Q&A sessions are recorded. And so if you have to drop off early, or if you have a colleague who wasn't able to make it, you can direct them to watch those and listen to them. So on the screen right now is the contact information for both Maine Department of Education, Nancy Godfrey, the Student Assessment Coordinator, and examples here of questions that would be directed to her, such as accommodations, special questions, regularities, or student-specific questions. All the other questions you may have can be directed towards the support desk with New Meridian MZD. For example, those would be lockdown installation issues. The lockdown browser is not working. You have login issues with your credentials into ADAM, or support with getting into ADAM once you're in ADAM, rostering information, etc. Okay. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nancy as we go into a few specific things about accessibility.
Thanks, Dwayne. I'm just going to cover a couple of things about accessibility before we dive into the Q&As for rostering. The Maine Science 2022 Accessibility Guide is different from what it was last year. The accessibility, the tools, and all the lists of things you have access to for the students has not changed. It's just that there were two separate documents last year. One was the Maine developed accessibility guide, and then there was one that showed all the screenshots within the portal that was by New Meridian. So we combined those two to be one document. The reminder for text-to-speech this year is that science assessment is not assessing reading comprehension, and this falls under the category of universal tools. However, text-to-speech for science really should be consistent with the student's normal routine during normal classroom instruction and formative and interim assessments. If the student has allowable text-to-speech, headphones and earbuds are required unless tested in an individual setting. The other the embedded universal tools include reviewing the page before submitting. You can scheme, the font size, zoom enlargement, flag or bookmark an item. Response masking is covering portions of what the screen is showing for distraction. Line reader helps the student follow along one line at a time. We just covered text to speech, and a non-embedded universal tool is scratch paper is allowable for all students, and that's obviously provided by you. Next slide, please. The next category of accessibility is our designated supports and features, and this is determined on an individual basis by an educational team, such as a multi-tiered system of supports, RTI team, an individual language acquisition plan for English learners, or a student assistance team. Some of the designated supports and features include taking breaks, extended time, preferential seating, individual or separate setting, small group, movement, alternate aids and supports, distraction reducing items, and directions clarification. And specifically, a support which can be utilized for English learners is a bilingual word glossary. Now, this is not a dictionary with definitions. This is a word-to-word translation glossary. We understand that this is a bit of an odd request, as everything that the students do is online now, and they have accessible Google Translates and whatever they're using for their English learning support. However, once a student is logged into the Science Atom platform, it's a lockdown browser, and students cannot open any other systems on their laptop, and they cannot have subsequent devices next to them, such as phones or other devices. So this is kind of a paper thing that must be provided. Next slide, please. The next level of accessibility is the accommodations, and accommodations are changes in the procedures that don't alter what the test measures. They're used to increase equitable access during the assessment. So any accommodations must be documented in an IEP or 504 plan. This includes read aloud or a human reader or American Sign Language translator as opposed to text to speech. Braille access.
Okay. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm sorry, Braille access. If you needed to order Braille tests for anyone, but I believe I've covered that for all our Braille reading students. A scribe, and if a student needs a paper-based test, a regular print or large print, and this also must be documented in an IEP or 504, because we would really, we strongly recommend that students take this online to get the features of all the technologically enhanced items. If you do have a student that requires a paper order, the link is on the slide, and it's also on the DOE website page. We'd like to have these orders in by the end of this week. There are exceptions though. Please remember that if you're looking to order a large print version, that the large print comes in a static 18-point font, as opposed to using the Zoom feature on the Atom platform, which increases it up in increments up to 500%. So for students who have visual needs, you might want to have them take the practice test and practice with the Zoom to make sure that that works for them. And I'm all set.
Nancy, we had a question come in, and that was, can any student use text to speech?
It is listed in the platform as a universal tool, but as I said, it's really designated for students who use this feature all the time in their instruction and during their regular assessments.
Thank you.
Nancy, thank you. I actually received a message as well asking where the recorded video session is going to be placed. And I believe there are two places. One is going to be on the support desk, and then one is also on Maine's website.
Yes.
Specific location, Nancy can, of course, direct us to there. But there will be, and I believe you did send out with our last Q&A session a notice to everyone too that it had been posted as well, if I remember correctly.
I think I saw in the chat that someone asked if everyone who is registered for this session is getting the link for the recording. No, we're not doing a follow-up email to registrants, but I will put out a blast to the listserv that the recording and the slide deck is posted on the DOE web pages.
Hi, Nancy.
Yep.
I'll put a link to our webpage where it's going to be posted, and I'll probably have it posted by noontime tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you. Okay. So we'll kind of shift gears now, and over here, what you can see is the contact information for the support desk, our toll-free number, as well as the online self-service. We are starting to see you contact us with more of your questions, which is wonderful. Just a brief reminder before I hand it over to Bob, there are 3 areas on the support website other than just the button to submit a ticket. There is the video and tutorials and webinars section, as you can see in the screenshot there, the resources, documents, and downloads, as well as the FAQ area. All of the assessment manuals, whether it be focused towards ADAM or focused towards actually administering the assessment in the classroom, are underneath the resources and documents. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Bob, who's going to take over and answer any of your questions considering rostering and administration in ADAM today.
Thank you, Dwayne. I'm also going to hopefully take over control of sharing. Let's see. I have the right control. This looks like it's going in the right spot. Can you all see the help desk right now? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Dwayne, for getting everything started today. Like we did in our previous session, we're starting out by just introducing the help desk again. And Dwayne, you did a nice start. I'm just going to show a couple other things. For example, one of the questions or one of the things Nancy showed us was where to go to order your paper form. So that's another really nice feature with the help desk. If you just come in here and do a quick search, and I'm just going to look for paper, and I get pointed to the article called Requesting a Paper Form. So this is an article built out in the help desk. And then this is also a launch place for you to actually go to request that paper form. From here, the big button here that says Request Help, that's to open a ticket. And down here at the bottom is where you can click Help, and you can initiate a call directly from here if you have a phone connected to your computer, or use the phone number that's listed. You can live chat. Leaving a message is not quite as easy as just requesting help. So live chat, call can all be done straight from here. I also posted, just so that you guys know, if you come into video tutorials and webinars, this has the Q&A session also listed. We posted the video here. It's also on the DOE website, but it is here as well, along with the questions that were asked and the answers that go along with that. So that was the last session. I expect, yes, we'll do another, there'll be another article like this, but for the session we're talking about today, which is on rostering and accommodations. Okay, well, I think that's all I wanted to cover on the support site, and I'm going to jump over into ADAM. I know that I'm not supposed to do demos, but I do want to show you one of the new features this year with ADAM that lets you, one, see all of the accommodations that are set up for your students. It also lets you update accommodations for maybe all of the kids in a particular grade, or all of the kids in your school at one time, instead of having to go in individually to set those accommodations or to adjust the accommodations. So I just wanted to show it to you real quick on how that actually works. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my designation to a school assessment coordinator. And if you come into users, I'll see my list of students. The first thing you do is do your search for, if you want to do this by class, or if you want to pull all of the kids in the grade, that's fine. You can use the function here to select all or just a certain page. I don't want everything. So I am just going to put a check mark in front of a couple of kids. You'll get the idea. Once you select the students that you want to look at their accommodations or work with their accommodations, top right, you click on those 3 dots and choose Student Accommodation Upload. Couple of things to note. You can't, or you're not allowed to change certain accommodations. Large print, braille, paper, those are locked. You do have the ability to set things like text to speech, read aloud, scribe, and extended time. So those are open for you. So the process is very simple. Click to download the template. This opens up down here in this frame. Your file may open up somewhere else. Let me drag this over. So this is what the file looks like. It has my kids, their name, and then the accommodations over here, text to speech, read aloud, so on and so forth. All you need to do is put a 1 where you want to turn on, or take the 1 off if you want to remove an accommodation. But anywhere there's a 1, that means that that accommodation is on. So if I come in now and let's say I want to add read aloud also to this Amber Rose Whitmore, that's the only change that I'm going to make. I'll just do that. I'm going to save this file. Come back into this Atom page, browse out, and grab my recent document. So that's what the CSV file that I just saved. And I'm going to upload that. Now, when I come in and look at Amber, and this is also new, accommodations are now on the left-hand side instead of the right-hand side. Go to accommodations and her read aloud has been set. It's just that easy. So I wanted to show you because that's instead of going into each student individually, it's a really quick way to set those accommodations. All right, well, now is the time to be able to ask some questions about rostering, and may not be that many questions about accommodations anymore, but what questions do we have about the processes for rostering students this year?
Hi, Bob. So we had a question come in and it said, I've never rostered students or added accommodations. I do have the platform user guide. When assigning classes, I can choose the name/format of the classes, correct?
Yeah, so when you're doing that quick class upload, you get, again, you get a file. So when you come in to classes and do the quick class upload, you would choose your grade, you would choose your school, and then you get the template. So just to show you again that template, and I've got no students to register, so you're going to get the information about the students. I'll try again in a little bit as I'm talking to try to find a file that I can actually use. But the very last column in that template that you get is a column called, oh my goodness. It's a column called, anyone who can help me, Proctor Group, sorry. So in that last column called Proctor Group, that's where you're going to name the class. And that will put all of those students into all of the classes that you might have for that entire grade and load them into Atom. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. Thank you. We had another question come in. It said these files are Excel files, it appears. I assume I need Microsoft Excel to add accommodations, etc.
So it really, I'm using Excel and that's fine. The file format is actually CSV. So any tool that you might have that lets you read those. So I'm using Excel, Sheets works fine, as does Numbers if you're using a Mac. Any of those programs will open a CSV and let you view it. You just want to make sure you save it back as a CSV when you do your save. So for example, if I can grab this file again and bring it over here, this is an empty file, but when I do, let's do a file save as so you can see this. You'll want to save this as a comma separated value CSV. And it should be set up that way when you open it as a CSV, but you could double check that by doing a file save as, choose a CSV and save that out. But whether or not you're using Excel or Numbers or Sheets, any one of those makes it very easy to work with this .csv format.
Thank you, Bob. I think that answered the question. We had another one come in, and that is, are all students from our school already in the ADAM system?
A great question. And due to some really wonderful work by the state, yes, all of the students are already loaded into ADAM for your school. If they're not, that would be, so you'd want to jump back, and there's a nice article on what if my students aren't there, where you can go back into NEO and make sure that they are actually set up in your proper school. And every night we re-upload, or at least the change of students, those would get pushed back into ADAM. And so, yeah, you don't have to add your own students. They're already there. You're just putting them into classes. That's it.
Which leads into our next question, which is, what if a student is erroneously uploaded into a wrong class or small group? How can they be moved to the correct class?
Boy, I love that question. So I'm going to come back into either one of these would be fine. So depending upon your authority, let's just go into, again, let me grab one of my demo schools here. So I have no students in those. Sorry, let's try that again. Okay, so right now I have these 3 classes, and I have all of the students in this class called for Mrs. Cromer. One of the ways that you can do this is by editing the class. So again, I'm in rostering classes. Come directly into the class. And if you scroll down, you'll see all of these students here. We could take Alexandru Bray and remove him from the class. And do I do it? Okay, let's go ahead and do it. You all have to help me remember who this is. Alexandru Bray. Okay. And I will save that. So that took him out of that class. Now there's 24 students there. Go into the class that I wanted him in, which is this Lewis class. Click on the add by the students. If I choose unrostered only, I should only get 1 student from the 5th grade that shows up on this list. Ta-da, there's Alexandru. And I just add Alexandru in to that class, submit it, save. Now I've got that new student in this class. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you could do this. One of the, and this will be the next question that comes up because it always does. We've tried to make this as simple and streamlined as possible. One, by adding the students already into the system, into ADAM. Then only making you come in and put students into these classes. Because the next thing that happens, and this is going to happen, this happens every 30 minutes. Well, kind of, at the top of the hour and at the bottom of the hour. Our program runs and will automatically then add those students or remove those students. In this case, those kids that were in Cromer's class are pulled out of the administration that they were in, and they'll be put into this new Lewis class. So administrations, these are the administrations that are built, and every 30 minutes, the student count is going to change with whatever changes you made to the classes. So that's all you need to do. Make sure those classes have the kids, every kid in a class, and then you can move them around in the classes. That's fine. About every 30 minutes, these administrations are going to be updated with those changes that you make to classes. I'm going to jump over here real quick. Let's say, let's look for student. Not in any of those spellings. Okay. Students. How do we search for a student? Let's just get all the list here just by doing this. Well, here's the answer to that question. Why can't I scan new students? Because it happens automatically. Okay. Adding classes and enrolling students. There's a nice video. How do I see all my students? Why can't I scan? How do I remove, add a student class assignment? That's the one I was looking for. And these are those steps, either from the student, which I'm going to show you in a second, or from the class. And these were the instructions we just went through. It takes about 30 minutes for class changes to be made. So those articles are all in there. Might have to be patient because there are 50 some articles out there. But the other place to make that change, by the way, is from here. And if you go to the student and edit the student, over here on the left is classes. This is where they currently are located. You can remove them and add a new, put them into a new class from here also. This is a little bit different. This just got updated to give you a better view. I might throw a new article in there on modifying students from, or modifying classes from the user, because it's a little bit different than the video is. And I'll stop talking. What other questions do we have?
Thanks, Bob. We have another one, which are teachers allowed to enter IEP or 504 accommodations to their class list, or do the admins need to enter that info? Wondering if there are any user permissions that lack on the teacher side to get this done.
So we don't have teachers logging into Adam. The users that have access to Adam are going to be your school assessment coordinators. They are the ones that will be adding accommodations to the students. There's a single exception to that, and that would be, well, I even have to check. There's Nancy, do you remember if we are allowing proctors to? No, we're not. All accommodations have to be set from the school assessment coordinators or higher. The district can do it as well, but not teachers. Teachers do not log into Adam and set roles.
Thank you, Bob. We had another question, which are there best practices for creating classes? For instance, can I build a class for my whole 7th grade?
Yes, absolutely. That is really where the quick class upload comes in. And I am going, you know what I can do? Sorry, let's do this way. So demo classes. I'm going to take some kids out of this class. Goodbye. Okay. So this is Parson Creek Elementary. So there's several ways to load students. I just really love the quick class upload. So if I am working for an entire grade, school and a grade, this is exactly what I would do. Come into quick class upload from classes, select my grade, select my course, which is going to match my grade. And I'm logged in with too many. I need to back up, guys. Sorry. I need to log in as demo, right? That was Parson Creek. Okay. Yep. Okay. This is what a school assessment coordinator would do. Again, I've already logged in and created some classes, but I'm going to create a new one just for you. So classes, quick class upload. 5th grade. My course was automatically selected for me. Now I'm going to download that template and hopefully I have some data in here to show you. I do. Good. This is what that quick class upload should look like. This is all of my unrostered students at this school in the 5th grade, right? So all I need to do now is give them a class code. So if these 5 students are actually in 2 different classes, I can say Jones 5, and I'm just making up a number. This is what I want to call the class code. And the other class is going to be Mason _5_1. I don't know what those mean, but y'all made me nervous. So now I'm just going to put those in there. So now all I do is save this. And let's do a file save as. File, save as. It's already set to a CSV. This is for demo. Okay, that's perfect. You don't have to even change the name. This is going to save in my downloads folder. And there's already one called that. That's fine. And now I'm going to browse out and find that. It's going to create 2 new classes and enroll 5 new students. So here's my 2 new classes. They each have some students in them and I'm done. So if I am doing 5th grade, that's all you do. Download all of the 5th grade in your school, populate the classes column with whatever you want to call your classes, and upload that file and you have the entire 5th grade done. Quick class upload requires you to do a single grade within a single school at the same time. So if you want to do 5th grade and 8th grade all at the same time, you couldn't do that. You'd need to separate those 2 into 2 different files and do that. But this is best practice. That's the quick class upload. There's a great document and video on doing the quick class upload. The name of that article that I would use is called How Do I Initially Add All the Classes and Students in My School in Atom? So if I search for how do I, boy, why did I use the word like initially? Let's just look at that. How do I initially add all the classes and students in my school to Atom? It's one of the first tasks. Tells you where to go, rostering classes, use the quick class upload. Here's a video that walks you through beginning to end. And if you don't like videos, this is a very quick guide to how to do what I just did.
So Bob, a follow-up on that question is, so all grade 5 students can be in one class in the system,
Yeah,
even though they're in different classrooms physically?
Yeah, they can. Really, what I want you to focus on when we think about building a class or doing this rostering, I like to think about it as how do I want them to be divided when they take the test? So if you think you're going to put them into 3 different rooms with 3 different proctors, that's really what it comes down to when you're building these classes. Those classes are, when we come in here, when we come in and look at what gets built for the proctor groups, this proctor group is whatever class name you used. This is how the students are divided into groups when they actually take the test. Each class becomes a proctor group for the administration. So to answer the question, yes, absolutely, you could put entire 5th grade into one big class. You may not like that when it comes to proctoring because they'll all be in one big proctor group, but it could be done, absolutely.
We had another question. All rostering changes are instantaneous, yes? So students can immediately start testing after changes are made, or is there any sort of delay in the system for that?
It's pretty fast, but it's not instantaneous. It's going to happen at the beginning of the hour and at the half hour. So if any changes that I make right now, so it's 2:37 in Iowa, if I made the change right now, that change would be reflected in the administration at 3 o'clock. And then any changes after that would be reflected at 3:30 and then at 4 and then at 4:30. So I say that there are, if you have an emergency, which we shouldn't because we should be looking at our rosters before it's an emergency time. But if something happens where there's a last minute change and you absolutely have to have it done right now, you can't wait for that flip at the half hour, call support and we can get that up to a level 2 support who can make that happen a little bit faster for you.
Thanks, Bob. We had another question, which is, can students be in more than one class?
No. You need to make sure that your students are in one and only one class. It should be the class that they will be rostered for taking the science test.
Will the system allow that kind of duplication?
It will.
Okay. Do students need to take sessions as a group, or could it be done in science classes?
I'm not sure that I understand that question.
Amy, could you provide a little more clarification about what you're looking for?
Sure. Do they all have to take the test at the same time, or can they do it in their periods throughout the day?
I'm going to let Nancy answer that one.
Yeah, the manuals and guides indicate that it's preferable that all grade 5 students take the assessment at the same time and day. We know in large schools that's not possible. It's based on the security of the assessment. You don't want your 5th graders, I'm sorry, half of your 5th graders taking it on the first day of assessment and the other half taking it 2 weeks later when there's 2 weeks window for the first group to share assessment questions with the second group. As close together as you can to group those grades on the same day, that would be preferable. Also, if you have 25 students scheduled to take the 5th grade assessment on a Monday and one is absent, you're not going to not test the other 24 students just because one is absent. That one student will be in a makeup session. But the instructions to the students are to not share any information about assessment items.
That's a great question, by the way. That comes up a lot.
We had another question here, which is, I have tried to remove some school assessment coordinators that are no longer in our district. It doesn't appear to be working.
Well, I think the best way to remove them is to just remove their access. So there is a delete function. The delete function isn't always going to work if, you know, if they're attached to something in a way that won't let it be deleted. I can't get, it can just stick them. So instead of removing them, if you edit them and remove the checkbox, they will not be able to log into Atom anymore. That's all you need to do. Unable them, unclick that button and then click save. That should work. If that doesn't, give us a holler at support and we'll either do it for you or, because I'd love, if there is an issue, I'd like to find out what's going on, but try that just and unclicking that checkbox and saving the record. And thank you for helping us keep the records clean. I appreciate that.
If students are already in classes and you do a quick class upload, does it overwrite with the new information?
No, it does not. If a student is already in a class, they will not get pulled in the quick class process. So when we did that initial from classes, remember, see all of, well, you can't see, all of my students are currently in a class. So when I do the quick class upload and do the download file, this template, it'll be empty. The only records that will show up on here are non-rostered students, which is, so even though I said that a student could be in more than one class, not if you use quick class upload, it won't allow it. But manually, you can go in and add a student to more than one class, which I don't, you know, I don't want you to really do anyway. I want you to use this process. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Is there a deadline for for rostering, or can it be done right up to the first day of testing?
Yeah, technically it can be done as long as you do it before 30 minutes before your assessment starts. Yeah, you could roster up until the last minute. Now, with that said, we are watching, because I want to make sure that everyone's getting rostered. When I come into a, and I don't have the whole screen up here right now, but there are these little icons like this one right here on the users page, which gives me my unrostered users. I'm doing counts every day to say, oh gosh, I don't have some schools that haven't rostered anybody. Chances are you're probably going to get an email like a week before testing starts if I see that you haven't rostered any students, just to make sure that you know that you're supposed to roster students. But technically, yeah, you could wait until the very last minute to do this. Nancy, would you want them to do that? Wait.
I'm sorry, what?
Would you, are you in favor of them waiting until the last minute to do the rostering?
It can be done, but no, that should be done ahead of time.
Great.
Have credentials been sent to the DACs?
Yes, they were sent in March. The exact date I'm not remembering.
Yeah, I don't either. So yeah, they were sent out. If you didn't receive them, or if you, yeah, let me go ahead and log out. If you come to Atom, just go to atomexam.com and put in your email address, because that's what your username is, and use the forgot password. You'll be able to reset if you've forgotten what your password is. Otherwise, you can just try to log back in again. But you can use the forgot password to get the link for setting up your new password and log in.
And that question was specifically for Laura Johns. And Laura, are you the DAC for the district? Not there. Okay.
No. So this may be a little more of a proctoring question, but is it possible to pause a student or a group of students due to time constraints, then restart them later in the day?
So
Before you answer that question, I'll tell you what the rules are, is that once a science assessment session has been opened, it must be completed in that day. Any students who have extended time, so the recommended time is about an hour for each session. If students have extended time, you can pause them and have them pick back up, which Bob will discuss later that day, but it has to be completed in the same day.
thanks, Nancy.
Yep.
Yeah, and so the pause function is on the Proctor. And actually, let's just see if anything comes up when I search for pause. So it's in the Proctor user guide. And there's a great video on proctoring as well. That's part of the documentation, a video that you can watch. So yeah, there is a pause button, but like Nancy said, you really are going to use the pause button if a student needs to take a break and then come back into the test, but not to let it cross beyond that day.
Thank you, Bob. We had another question about rostering. So can I roster the students in Quick Roster? But then I have some smaller groups that need to be pulled out to test with someone else. Can I just get their card to log in, or should I put them in a separate class?
So
I can explain more, Bob, if you need me to.
yeah.
So if I'm setting up a school of all the 5th graders who are taking the science, and then special ed says they need to pull 5 kids to work in a smaller group, we print off cards for the students like we did last year, correct?
Yes.
Can they just take their card and go with that adult, or do I need to set them up in a whole new class in the system?
They can go with that other, you can send the card with them. The person who's proctoring that new room is also going to need the proctor password for that proctor group.
Okay.
You can have more than one person in the same proctor group. If you want to, and this is probably what I would suggest you do, is create an alias proctor group.
Okay.
And the directions are here. It's simple. You go into the proctor group. And in this case, I've already created one called Quiet Room, but basically you use this button here that says create alias. It allows you to pull students from any of the existing proctor groups and put them into a separate one. Now you can, now there's a new test code and proctor password for that alias group, and you just reprint your cards out and give a new proctor code to the new proctor and give the students a new code to take the test in the new room.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. What else, Katie?
We
Bob.
did have oh, go ahead, Dwayne,
I was
sorry.
going to say, I'm going to kind of step in here for a little bit, but just to give a little lead in for Andy, just give us some clarity here between the differences between our New Meridian Atom MZD testing system and NWEA, which I know they got both going on probably similar times. Andy, are you on there for us?
Oh yeah, hi. Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny when I'm listening to the questions, you know, we just did a session on NWEA and there's going to be another one coming up on Wednesday. I really couldn't be any different, to be honest with you. So my head's often spinning because the advice that you get here is very different than what you'll hear from NWEA. Not to say one's better than the other, but I try really hard to keep them separate. So when I hear things about rostering at the last minute, well, because in NWEA, when you switch a roster at the last minute, it's kind of a hassle to add students. In this system, it's really easy. Another thing that I think is really important, a lot of us are going to spend a lot of time trying to make classes that correlate to teachers and science classes. And there's really important to stress that there's no direct correlation to the proctoring lists and the results of this assessment. So if you think that there's going to be some benefit down the road, which there clearly is a benefit down the road in NWEA. There's no benefit in there. There's no correlation between those two. And the last bit of like local advice I would give is if you didn't get credentials, make sure you check the NEO system, and not just the public facing part of the NEO system. You have to go 2 steps deeper. You have to log into NEO, you have to click staff, then you have to click certification. And at the very bottom, that's where you'll see who is listed as your tech director and who is listed as your district assessment coordinator. If those are not accurate, you're not going to get credentials. So I advise you to go into the NEO system, whoever updates that for your district, to double check there. That might explain why you're not getting access to the information. That's all I got. These are lessons learned from my district. I almost wish we could have 2 different assessment coordinators, one that never heard how to do this one, and the other that never heard how to do NWEA, because they couldn't be any more different. But they're both great tests. And also I will put in a plug, the tech support and the like from guys like Bob are just hard to rival. Same with NWEA. Don't hesitate to reach out to those guys.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I really loved your advice about the creation of the classes, because you're right. It's do what's going to be easiest for proctoring. There's no reporting tied back to the names of your classes. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you again, Andy. I'm going to hand it back over to Katie.
We did have one question. It was not necessarily regarding rostering, but regarding the OS systems. So do students need to have a particular OS to run ADAM?
Well, let's take a look. I'm going to click on this system startup checks. And because there's some good information in here. So the OS can't be running in virtualized. Let's see. So this is some of the advice for the Mac OS, Windows, Chrome, and iOS for iPads. If you're running a halfway new-ish machine, you're going to be fine.
And that catches us up. Do we have any other questions people would like to ask in the chat? We had one more question. Should DACs be doing the class uploads? Or the school assessment coordinators?
It's really designed to be the most efficient for a school assessment coordinator. There are, but sure, the DAC could do it, but like I said, when you're using quick class upload, you need to do a grade and a class at a time, and the same school. So DACs would have a lot more steps to do that. But yeah, they could do it, but it's really designed for the SAC to do.
Thank you, Bob.
And I'll add one more thing. It adds a level of complexity, and I'm happy to help you through this. There are alternative methods for loading. I know that last year we had some districts where the DAC did do this. They wanted to roster or put into classes the entire district at the same time, or bigger groups of people. There are imports to do that, but it's more work. There's more chances for errors in the files that you're uploading, but it's possible if you have to do it that way.
Once classes are made, is that what generates the administrative tickets?
Yes. Once you create a class and put students in them, that will create the proctor groups within the administration. So if you go, and I don't even have an example of this because because I have folks in here. But if you go, and there's a story out there that says, why can't I see my administrations or something like that? And I know I have more authority, but when you go into administrations, if you come here and it says, no administrations exist, that means that you haven't created your classes yet, and you haven't put your students in. And then be patient for that 30 minutes and everything will start to show up for you. If you are a 5th grade SAC or dealing with 5th grade, you're going to see 4 cards. If you are in 8th grade, you will see 4 cards. High school also has 4 cards for session 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you're a DAC, when you come in and look at this page, you will, depending upon how many different schools you're at, you could see as many as 12 cards, 4 for each grade.
Is it better to upload the accommodations before rostering students in classes?
It has no impact. So whatever you prefer. There's a couple different views in Atom this year, and I guess I can show you this. When you're looking at a proctor card, there is a view here tied to students. And if you click that, you'll see a list of all of the students that are in that proctor or in that administration for your school. And this is a little bit new. In the accommodation column, there'll be a little bubble and it will tell you how many accommodations that student has. And by hovering over the top of that, it'll tell you what their accommodations are. So if you know what the accommodations are before you start, you could certainly do that, but you're also going to probably just double check by coming into the administration itself and looking to see, does it look like my accommodations are right? If they're right, great. If they're not, pop back out to do the mass upload of accommodations and update them. There is a great article out here, and I'm just going to type in checklist. If you ever call me from support, I'm almost always going to end that message to you to say, and just so that you have something in front of you, I'm going to send you this checklist. And it says, did you download the lockdown browser? Are all of your students rostered? Have I set all my accommodations? Have I printed the tickets? Have I told my proctors how to work? And all those articles are just part of this checklist. Great guide to have, pass along to your SACs or whoever's helping you with your work. This is what you need to do. If you do these things, you'll have a great session.
Thank you, Bob. We had a question of, do the DACs need to set up the school coordinators again? Did that information roll over from last year?
Take a look at the SACs. They should be there. But you may have some that were an SAC last year that aren't SACs this year. So you'll want to definitely log in, check in rostering users and look by role for your SACs, or if you set up technology coordinators, they would be there too. And this will just give you your list. So just make sure they're there. Yes, they should be there. But you can double check by just looking in the system. Nancy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, but Bob, don't you have to take it one step further? Don't you have to ensure, go to edit and scroll all the way to the bottom to make sure that they are active?
Yeah, we didn't inactivate them. So everybody that's in there should be active.
Should be from last year.
Yeah,
So
but you're right. You guys don't have that many SACs. So if I was a DAC, I would look, are they in here?
Yeah.
Is their email set right? When I drill into them, do I have them set to this correct school?
Right.
And lastly, are they active?
So in other words, all SACs from spring of 21 should be in there, and they would all just automatically carry over with the checkbox checked as active users. So the responsibility really is for the DAC to go through that to uncheck folks that aren't SACs anymore.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And what should a DAC do if they're not seeing their SACs?
So let's do this. What should I do once I set up my account in Adam? So this is a walkthrough of what I would like you to do. DACs, if your SAC isn't in there, then you follow the instructions for how do I add users to Adam. There's a 4.5-minute video that walks you through how to create the SACs and STCs. So for example, here's a little rule. We have district assessment coordinators. I cheated. This is actually, there's district technology coordinators and school technology coordinators. So they're at 2 different levels, but a district assessment coordinator can add district technology coordinators and school assessment coordinators and school technology coordinators. But as you start to head down, then a school assessment coordinator can only add a school technology coordinator. So your roles are limited based on who you are, but this is kind of that setup guide that helps us to understand what should we be seeing when we're adding users into Adam.
Thanks, Bob. We had a question. When I try to access manuals in the documents downloads webpage, a green message pops up about the admin window, but I can't access the manuals themselves. What am I missing?
I don't know. Let's look. So I'm guessing they're talking about these AAMs that are in here. So let's look at this 5th grade one. There should be 2 different ways to get at this. This link, I believe, is going to take you, let's just go into the Zendesk. So the article is way down here at the bottom. This is the downloadable PDF for the AAM. I'm going to try it. Honestly, I probably haven't tried it yet. That creates a download for me anyway, it's down here at the bottom. And it has opened up and ta-da, there's my manual. So if you continue to have trouble being able to download that document, I'm happy to jump on a screen share and just walk through that with you and make sure that you can pull that up.
Thanks, Bob. And the best way to do that would be to contact the help desk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I always take it for granted that everybody knows how to download something from their computer and then open that document up. I shouldn't do that. And it's different if you're on a Mac versus a Windows machine. So if you can't get it, don't worry about it. Just get in touch with us. We'll help you figure it out. And if there's one thing that I want to reiterate, nobody is judging you when you call into the support desk. That is the only thing that we do. We just want to make sure that you get this work done. So get in touch with us. Are we seeing anything else come in?
No, we are all caught up on questions.
Okay. And if any come up, that's fine. Again, we will be turning this recording around pretty quickly. It was amazing. Thank you for getting that turned around so fast last week. And then as soon as I get that, I'll have a little delay because we like to take the questions that were asked and put that into an article, and that just takes us a bit to compile. So maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, but you'll be able to find that in here under videos and tutorials. There'll be a new one here called Q&A sessions be relabeled for the new session. We have another session coming up. And so I'm just clicking on this other article called Q&A 2022 sessions. And this has the dates and times for the next session, which is coming up on April 25th. And this is the link that you'll use to pre-register for that particular session. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to end the recording here. That would be Cheryl. Thank you.